Hey everyone, welcome back to Scareproof. Tonight, we bring you chilling true stories. Encounters so terrifying, they'll stay with you long after the video ends. If you're into the paranormal, unexplained events, and moments that send shivers down your spine, you're in the right place. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell icon, and leave a like to keep the fear flowing straight to your screen. Now, turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and prepare for stories that are anything but fiction. About 3 years ago, something happened that still gives me chills. My husband was working the night shift, and since I was alone with our little kids, he asked my mom to stay over so I'd feel safer. I remember clearly. It was October. Before he left, he mentioned he had accidentally broken 2 slats of the blinds and couldn't fix them, so a gap was left open near the top of the window. I hung a sheet to cover it, but it didn't quite reach, leaving a small space where the full moonlight shone through. That night, I woke up with this strange, overwhelming sense of anxiety. I was lying in bed, fully awake. Everything outside was glowing under the moonlight. I checked my phone. It was around 2:30 a.m. I looked at my kids and my mom. They were all fine. But I couldn't go back to sleep. I just kept staring at that gap in the window, not knowing why. That's when I saw it. A large black cat was walking along the back wall of the house, heading to the left. I didn't think much of it at first, but less than 5 minutes later, it walked by again, same direction. This time, something was off. The cat was crouched down, but as it moved, it started rising, slowly, until it was standing on 2 legs. I couldn't believe my eyes. The cat turned into a humanoid figure, shaped like a woman but covered in sleek, shiny black fur. It had a tail, pointed ears, and moved with an eerie grace. It was like watching a catwoman gliding across the wall's edge, slipping off into the darkness behind the neighbor's house. I looked at the clock. 3 a.m. Sharp. I froze. I couldn't sleep again until nearly 5 in the morning, terrified that whatever it was still out there. It took a long time before I let myself think about it again. But one day, while browsing online, I came across an image that stopped me cold. It wasn't exactly the same face, but the fur, the posture, the ears, everything matched what I saw that night. And just like that, it all came rushing back, as if it had happened yesterday. Whatever I saw that night, it wasn't from this world. And ever since, I've never looked at the darkness behind a cracked window the same way again. I'm a Christian, and in my faith, we're taught that spiritual warfare is real. I've experienced it firsthand, twice, and those moments marked me deeply. After I got baptized, strange things began happening in our home. I couldn't sleep. Every night, especially around 3 a.m., I heard constant footsteps, like someone pacing back and forth through the house. Objects would fall on their own. Others would move without explanation. It was terrifying. I lived in a state of constant fear and anxiety. One night, my dad, who has security cameras installed all over the house, sent me a picture he'd taken from the system. It showed me, standing in the kitchen, and right next to me was a tall, dark, shadowy figure. Its presence looked oppressive, heavy. That image shook me to my core. I shared everything with my pastors. They told me I was under spiritual attack and that what I was experiencing was not just paranormal, it was spiritual warfare. They came over, prayed over me in the house. Little by little, that dark presence began to fade. But about a month ago, I had a dream that still haunts me. In the dream, I was surrounded by people I had never seen before. They formed a circle around me and said I had to come with them. Someone needed to reveal something important. Suddenly, I felt my body lift up, and right in front of me, a bright blue portal opened. Out of that portal came a figure, also glowing blue, laughing at me, mocking me. It tried to get inside my body, to possess me, and I fought back with everything I had. While it struggled to enter me, it started talking about the future, as if it wanted to show me something. I caught a glimpse of some kind of place, and then I woke up. But here's the worst part. Even after waking up, I could still hear whispers and screams around me. It was like that thing never really left. I was fully awake, but the atmosphere still felt charged, like something dark was watching me. Since then, I've doubled down on my prayers and faith, but I'll never forget what happened, because that night I realized not all battles are visible. One time, my older brother and I ordered food delivery. While we waited, I was tidying up my room, and he was in his, watching a movie. Still, we were chatting back and forth from our separate rooms. I was telling him something, though now I can't remember exactly what. After a while, I noticed he stopped replying with full sentences. He was only giving short responses. Yeah, uh-huh, mm-hmm. Little noises people make when they're half listening, but still there. They were familiar. You know when someone close to you makes those sounds. Eventually, I got the notification that the delivery guy had arrived, so I called out to let my brother know I was going to grab the pizza. He replied with a simple, "Yeah," followed by a Our house is divided by a fairly large courtyard that connects both parts of the building. To get from one side to the other, you have to cross it. I walked across, stepped into the living room, and there he was, my brother, lying on the couch, calmly watching something on his tablet. I stopped cold. The first thing I asked was, "How long have you been here?" He looked at me and said, casually, "About half an hour. I'm downloading a movie," and held up his screen. I must have made a weird face, because he immediately asked her and went to get the food. I still don't know what happened. I swear I was talking to him. His voice, his replies, even his laugh. It was him, or something that sounded exactly like him. Sometime later, someone told me about doppelgangers. They're said to be entities that copy people close to you. They look and sound just like them, but they're not from this world. Some say their appearance is a warning, or something far worse. Ever since that night, whenever someone calls to me from another room, I don't answer right away. First, cautious, I make sure it's really who I think it is. Years ago, when I was around 12 years old, my dad had just finished building a new house out of brick and concrete. Before that, we lived on the same property, but in a small makeshift home made of scrap wood and cardboard. That old place was later turned into a shed where my dad kept his work tools and gear. It wasn't a proper structure, just a roof held up by wooden posts with some beams supporting the metal sheets on top. One afternoon, my dad got home from work and asked me to grab his slippers, which he kept in a cage-like rack inside the shed since he wore boots all day. I walked over, stepped into the shed, and bent down to get them. That's when it happened. Right there, in front of me, a black shadow began rising up from the ground. It had the shape of a person. There was a light on the side of the main house that pointed toward the shed, so at first I thought it was just some weird shadow cast by someone standing behind me, maybe my dad. But when I turned around, there was no one there. Just the shadow, floating silently in front of me. It slowly rose along the wall. No face, no features, just darkness, a pure, solid, black mass. I felt a chill crawl up my spine and let out a scream. I started crying, terrified. My dad came running. I told him what happened, my voice shaking, while he searched the whole yard. He didn't find a thing. The weirdest part? Our pit bull, usually tough and aggressive, had let out this soft, scared whimper the moment the shadow appeared. That dog wasn't scared of anything, but something about that thing made him freeze. I remember one detail so clearly. Where the eyes should have been, there was an even deeper blackness, a void. From that day on, I never went into that shed alone again. And I still see that faceless shadow every time I close my eyes. It was the summer of 2004. I was on a bus headed back to Los Angeles after a music festival near the Gulf Coast. The event had been wild, pure rave energy, and the bus was packed with around 30 people, all of us tired, buzzing, or somewhere in between. Some were chatting, others drinking, a few just zoning out with their headphones on. It was around 7 or 8 p.m. We were driving through a stretch of highway in Texas, somewhere between San Antonio and El Paso, surrounded by hills and open sky. I was just leaning against the window, half asleep, when I saw something strange in the distance. On top of a far-off hill, there were 3 glowing lights hovering in a perfect triangle, one red, one blue, and one green. At first, I thought I was seeing things. I tapped my girlfriend and said, "Hey, look at that hill. What the hell is that?" She looked, froze for a second, and whispered, "Oh my God, do you see that too?" More people started noticing. Everyone was pointing, whispering, trying to make sense of it. The commotion was enough for the driver to pull over to the side of the road. We all got off. There we were, standing in silence along the shoulder of a dark Texas highway, staring up at these lights. They floated in place, twisting slowly, gliding side to side like they were playing with each other. Then it happened. The lights began to merge, forming one large, bright orb. In an instant, it shot across the sky to the right, so fast it left us breathless. Then, just as suddenly, it snapped to the left and disappeared into the night, like it had never been there. We stood there, stunned. No one said a word for what felt like minutes. Then, in silence, we climbed back on the bus. Nobody played music, nobody talked. We just rode. I've never been able to explain it. None of us have. But we all saw it, and that's what makes it real. For just a moment, something else was out there, and that's the only paranormal experience I've ever had. But believe me, once was more than enough. If you're still here, thanks for surviving another night with us. Remember to subscribe to Scareproof. Hit that bell so you never miss the next terrifying story. And leave a comment telling us what's the scariest thing that's ever happened to you. Because here, fear is always just one story away. Until next time. Sleep with one eye.